Good morning. In this slide, we are discussing the topic on JDBC classes and interface from Module 3 Subject Database Management System. In this slide, we are explaining the step 4, that is process data written by the DBMS. Once the driver has been loaded successfully, connection has been established successfully. After creating the query and executing the query, next we need to retrieve the data from the DBMS. In order to retrieve the data from the DBMS, we will make use of an result set interface. The result set interface consists of record. Each record contains a set of columns. The result set can be of certain type. The type determines some characteristics and abilities of the result set. There are different types of result set. The scrollable result set, updatable result set. In scrollable result set, at the time of writing, there are three result set types: type forward only, type scroll insensitive, type scroll sensitive. The type forward only means that the result set can only move forward direction. That is, you can only move from row 1 to row 2, row 2 to row 3, etc. We cannot move backward in the result set when it is type forward only. Next one is type scroll insensitive. The type scroll insensitive means that the result set can be moved in both forward as well as backward direction. You can also jump to the one position to the another position, or jump to the absolute position or relative position. The result set is insensitive to changes in the underlying data source while the result set is open. That is, if a record in the result set is changed in the database by the another thread or a process, it will not be reflected in already open result set of this type. Next type is type scroll sensitive. The type scroll sensitive means that the result set can be moved in both forward direction as well as backward direction. We can also jump from one position to the another position by making use of a relative or absolute. The result set is sensitive to change in the underlying data source while the result set is open. That is, if a record in the result set is changed in the database by another thread or a process, it will be reflected in already open result set of this type. There are different methods which are available in the result set. The methods are absolute, first, last, next, previous, and relative. These are the different methods which are available in the result set interface. After executing the first, we have loaded the driver with the help of an for name. Then after establishing with the connections are going to be established with the help of an get connection method. Then next we are creating the query by making use of an create statement method. Then we are executing the query with the help of an execute query method. Here my query is select star from student. This method is going to return the value to the result set interface object. Now result set interface object is pointing to the corresponding table. Now I want to retrieve the student ID, name, branch and age from the table student. In order to retrieve the value from the table, I need to make use of a method called next. The next is a method which is belonging to the result set interface. The next is method is going to be perform operation iteratively. The next method is always going to point to the first row of the table. If the row is not empty, the method is going to return true. If the row is empty, the method is going to false. Assume that now row is not an empty, then the next method is going to return a true. Now I want to retrieve the value from the corresponding row and the corresponding column. Then I need to make use of a getX method. The getX is a method which is going to return the value of the current row and specific column. The getX method takes the one argument of type int or an string. If the get argument of type int, that is a column index number. If get or x method is of type string, that is a column name. In this example, I am making use of an getX, where x can be replaced by the type of the attribute. Now I want to retrieve the student ID. So student ID is of type varchar and its corresponding type of Java is string. So x will be replaced by string. So get string with one argument, that is 1, that is the name of the column index. The column index for student ID is 1. This method is going to return the value 4CB16CS001 to the variable SID. Now I want to retrieve second attribute. The second attribute of the table is name of type varchar. So again x will be replaced by string. So I'm making use of an get string method. The second index is 2, that is name. Its corresponding value has been returned to the variable name, that is Ajay. Then third attribute is branch of type varchar. Again x will be replaced by the string. So get string. The column index is 3. The method is going to return the value as CSE to the variable branch. Then fourth attribute is an age of type number and its corresponding Java type is int. So get int. I told the get x method take either column index or column name. So get int. Here I am passing the name of the column. The name of the column is age. The value, its corresponding value is 20. The 20 is be returned to the variable age. Now I am printing the value. Again, the next method is going to point to the next row of the table. In this table, the second row is not there, so second row is empty. The loop is going to be get terminated. This is how we are going to retrieve the value from the table with the help of making use of a result set method. In this slide, we are seeing different result set method and type of the result set interface. Let us first discuss the different methods of result set interface. The first method is previous. The previous method moves the cursor towards the backward, one row backward. The absolute is the method which takes the one argument of type num. This method moves the row with the specified number. If the row is pointing to the second row, if I pass an argument as n2, then the method the cursor will be moved to the fourth row. The relative. The relative is the method which moves the cursor in forward direction as well as backward direction by passing an argument to the relative method. The first is the method, it is always going to point to the first row of the table. The last is the method, it is always going to point to the last row of the table. And different types of result set interface are result set dot type forward only, result set dot type scroll insensitive, result set dot type scroll sensitive. We already discussed in the previous slide that type forward only means the cursor will be moved in only forward direction. The type scroll insensitive means the cursor will be moved in both forward direction, backward direction, jump from one location to the another location. But type insensitive means if the result set is already opened by the one process or the thread, if we make any changes by the another process or the thread, that is not going to be get reflected to the table. Type scroll sensitive. Type scroll sensitive, the cursor can be moved in forward direction as well as backward direction. The difference between sensitive and insensitive means if you make any changes by the thread or the process, if the result set is already on open, that is going to be get affected in the database. And simple example for using result set interface. The result set interface, type of result set interface are passed as an argument to the create statement method, that is result set dot type forward only. When I pass as an argument to the create statement method as result set dot type forward only, then we can perform only operation on the table by making use of an absolute first and last, because the cursor moves only in the forward direction. The create statement method belonging to the connection interface and the return value will be assigned to the statement interface. Now we are executing the query select star from student With the help of an execute query, the result will be assigned to the result set interface. These are the different methods which are belonging to the result set interface and types of the result set interface. In this slide, we are discussing the last step, that is the fifth step, terminating the connection to the DBMS. Once the driver has been loaded successfully, after establishing the connection successfully, after creating the query and executing the query and returning the data from the data DBMS, now last step is I need to close the connection. The connection to the DBMS is terminated by the help of close method. The close is a method belonging to the connection interface. With the help of an object of connection interface, the close method has been invoked. A close method has been used once the accessing the data DBMS has been finished. To terminate the connection, we'll make use of a close method. This is a simple Java program which is used to retrieve data from the database. Here I am making use of an Microsoft Access database which have been used to retrieve the information from the table. Now first step is we need to load the driver. To load the driver, we are making use of an for name method. The for name is a method belonging to the class called class and takes the one argument of type string, that is which type of the driver we are using. Here we are using Microsoft Access driver, so I am passing the argument as sun.jdbc.odbc.jdbc driver. This is the type of the driver which can be used for Microsoft Access database. Once the driver has been loaded, next we need to establish a connection to the database. In order to establish a connection to the database, we are using get connection method. The get connection is a method belonging to the driver manager class. The get connection method taking the one argument in this example, that is URL of type string. The URL contains three parts. The first is JDBC protocol. The second part is sub protocol, that is driver name. The driver name for the Microsoft Access database is ODBC, and third part is data source name, that is name of the database. The name of the database is CSP. Once the connection has been established, the return value will be assigned to the connection interface. Next, we need to create the query. To create the SQL statement, either you can use create statement method, prepare statement method, or callable statement method. In this example, we are using a create statement method. The create statement is a method belonging to the connection interface. So the create statement method has invoked with the help of an object of connection interface. The return value of create statement interface method is assigned to the statement interface, where S is an object of statement interface. Once the query has been created, next we need to execute the query. Now in order to execute the query, there are different methods which are available in statement interface are execute query method, execute update method, and execute method. Here I am performing an operation as retrieving the data from the database, making use of an select star from employee table, that is DDL query. When you make use of a DDL query, then execute query methods are being used. The execute query is a method belonging to the statement interface. With the help of an statement interface object, I am invoking the execute query by taking the one argument, that is SQL of type string, which is performing the operation as select star from employee table. The employee is the table which is available in the database called CSB. This method is going to return result to the result set interface, where R is an object of result set interface which is pointing to the table called employee. Now I need to retrieve the value from the table. In order to retrieve value from the table, we are making use of a next method, where next is the method belonging to the result set interface. The next method is always going to point to the current row of the table or first row of the table. If the first row of the table is not empty, the method is going to return true. If the row of the table is empty, the method is going to return false. Assume that the first row of the table is not empty. then r.next method returns the true. Now I want to retrieve the corresponding column value from the current row. In order to retrieve the corresponding column value from the current row, which is pointed by the next method, we'll make use of a getX method. The getX is a method which is going to retrieve the value from the corresponding row and specific column. The getX method takes the one argument either of type int or of type string. The getX method with argument int is specified as a column index. The getX method of argument string which is going to specify the column name. In this example, we are used a method called getX method with int as an argument. Now X can be replaced by the type of the attribute which has been created for the while creating for the table. So the first attribute is name. Then the name is of type varchar, assume it. So X will be replaced by string. So get string of first attribute column index is 1. That is name of the student has been written the value to the variable name of type string. The second attribute is USN of type varchar and its corresponding Java type is string. So X will be replaced by get string, then column index is 2. Then getString method is going to return the second column of the current row to the variable USN. Then I am printing the value name and USN. This process will be repeated until the row became as empty. Once the processing data is over, next we need to close the connection. In order to close the connection, we'll make use of a method called close. The close is a method belonging to an interface called as a connection interface. So with the help of an object connection interface, I am invoking the method close. This method is going to terminate the connection. If any one of this step has been got an exception, that exception will be caught by the cache. Suppose while loading the driver, if the driver is not loaded successfully, then cache is going to throw and no such drivers are found. If there is no such database is available, then the cache is going to throw an exception as no such database are available. If the employee table is not found in their database, then cache is going to throw an exception as no such tables is found. If the getString method and specifying the wrong column index, then the catch method is going to throw exception as no such index column is found, that is index out of bound exception. All the steps are going to throw an exception, so all the 5 steps have to be written within the try block. This is a simple example which is used to retrieve the data from the database by making use of a Java code with the help of Microsoft Access database. This slide gives brief information about matching Java data type with SQL data types and its getX methods of result set interface. In SQL type, bit is going to be represented for Boolean variable, Boolean attribute. In Java class, the corresponding type of SQL is Boolean. Now, in order to retrieve information of attribute type Boolean, then we'll make use of an get Boolean, where X can be represented by Boolean. Same thing in SQL, the data type is char. In Java, it is a string, so X will be represented by string. In SQL data type is varchar. In Java it is a string. So again X is replaced by get string. In SQL data type it is a double. In Java class it is also a double. So get X can be replaced by double method. In SQL type it is a float. In Java class it is a double. In SQL it is an integer. In Java class it is an integer. In SQL type if it is a number. In Java type it is an integer. In SQL type it is a real. In Java class it is a double. In SQL type it is a date attribute. If the attribute type is date, then Java will make use of java.sql.date. In SQL attribute type is time, then we will make use of java.sql.time time. In SQL the attribute type is timestamp, then we will make use of an java.sql.timestamp class and its corresponding getX methods. For entire video slide presentation, we have referred a few textbook and few web resources. Thank you.